Hello viewers, welcome to Communication Skills in English. The paper code is 20EG01P. ಇವತ್ತಿನ ಸೆಷನ್ನಲ್ಲಿ ಯೂನಿಟ್ ನಂಬರ್ 4 ಅನ್ನು ನೋಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೇವೆ. ಇದು ನಾನ್ ವರ್ಬಲ್ ಕಮ್ಯುನಿಕೇಷನ್ಗೆ ಸಂಬಂಧಪಟ್ಟ ಹಾಗೆ. ಸೊ ಈ ನಾನ್ ವರ್ಬಲ್ ಕಮ್ಯುನಿಕೇಷನ್ಗೆ ಸಂಬಂಧಪಟ್ಟ ಹಾಗೆ ಈ ಒಂದು ಸೆಷನ್ 2ರಲ್ಲಿ ಸೊ ವಿ ಆರ್ ಗೋಯಿಂಗ್ ಟು ಲರ್ನ್ ಆನ್ ಲೆಟರ್ ರೈಟಿಂಗ್. ಲೆಟ್ಸ್ ಮೂವ್ ಟು ದಿ ಲರ್ನಿಂಗ್ ಔಟ್ಕಮ್ಸ್. ಈ ಒಂದು ಸೆಷನ್ ಅಟೆಂಡ್ ಮಾಡಿದ ಮೇಲೆ ಒಬ್ಬ ವಿದ್ಯಾರ್ಥಿ ಸೊ ಹಿ ವಿಲ್ ಬಿ able to recognize the formal and informal letters, and he is able to distinguish between a formal letter and an informal letter, then able to comprehend the parts of a formal letter and an informal letter. And at last I provide you the tips for writing a formal letter, and the learner will adopt these learning tips, tips for writing a letter. And my presentation is organized under the following points. First one, meaning and format of a formal letter, meaning and format of an informal letter, and tips for writing a letter. Let's go to the session. So letter. What is a letter? A letter is a written or printed or typed communication sent in an envelope by post or a messenger. So this is the meaning of a letter usually. Of course, the letter is antiquate these days, but still it has its own importance. Now let us look at the difference between formal and informal letters. So we have two types of letters here. So one is formal letter and informal letters. So we know we have the pre-knowledge of this type of letters. So formal and informal letters. So this is why I did not created a separate slide showing you to show what are the types of letters and all. So let us look at the differences between formal letter and an informal letter, and what they are. Let us see. Formal letters, informal letters. So abreast to each other, I am just going to show you the difference or differences. First one, formal letters are written for official purpose, and informal letters are written for personal purpose. And formal letters, especially as I told you, written for official purpose, they are written to collector or to director or to an editor or to the manager or to the principal or to the lecturer or to the warden. So like that. So formal letters are addressed to an official. And coming to the informal letters, what they are written for, to whom they are written for. They are written to parents, brothers or sisters, friends or relatives, and so on. So which has the personal purpose behind writing the letters. Let us look at the next one. So formal letters compulsorily will have subject in the letter, and when it comes to informal letters, there is no essentiality of mentioning the subject. And formal letters will have a greeting or salutation, that is dear sir or dear madam. If the name is known, we write it as dear Mr. Prasanna Kumar or dear Miss Charvita. In informal letters, it is a different one. So different salutation is used, where we use a common dear, but where it is mentioned as dear friend, dear father, dear mother, dear Laksh. So likewise we use certain informal letters in the greeting or salutation. Let's come to the next one. So the body of the letter commences from or begins from with reference to the subject with reference to the above subject. So we commence our letter in that particular way. But when it comes to informal letters, it commences with how are you, how do you do, I am doing very well. So such informal beginnings we can notice in informal letters. And then at the closing line we say thanking you, regards. So such phrases are used at the closing line in the formal letters, and when it comes to informal letters we use a different one, that is convey my regards. And many other related words are used in the informal letters rather than thanking you or any kind of formal phrases. So coming to the last part, that is subscription. So here we end up the formal letter by using the subscription, yours faithfully, yours sincerely. So here in formal letters, when in the greeting if you use the name dear Mr. Prasanna Kumar, then we use the subscription yours sincerely. When the name is not mentioned, if it is mentioned dear sir or dear madam, then we use yours faithfully. So coming to the informal letter, how they are going to have the subscription. So they will have the subscription like yours loving daughter, yours loving friend, with love, so like that, or with great affection. So such kind of phrases we use in the informal letters when it comes to the subscription. Let us have a brief look at what is the format of a formal letter. The formal letter will have, so actually what I would like to tell you is that in the formal letter we use a specific format that is called block format. So the in the block format, everything will be aligned to the left side of the letter drafter. So in the formal letter, so we will have sender's address, then date, receiver's address, subject, salutation, body of the letter, which has three parts: introduction, main content, and conclusion or end of the letter. Then thanking you, the closing line, and subscription, that is yours faithfully or yours sincerely, and then it is going to be it is followed by the name and the signature first and then name, so whatsoever it is. So it is going to be the format of this particular formal letter. So here what we have to notice is that, so what the space we have here between sender and date and receivers and subject and salutation and body of the letter, and then to thanking you. So we need to maintain one line spacing, and then when it comes to the closing line and subscription, so where we have to leave 3 line space in the in writing a letter, in drafting a letter. So let's move on to the format. So here I am providing you a sample of a formal letter. So please have a look at it and see what, and just see to this, and by comparing what I have conveyed you till now. So here we can see the sender's address, date, and then to address, then that is receiver's address, then subject, then salutation. This is the body of the letter. So then thanking you, subscription, then we have given the title here, that is the designation of the person, and then his address, and in between this the person can put or affix his signature in this particular part. So let's move to the next. Informal letter format. What is the, how the informal letter looks like, and what is the format? Of course, almost all the parts are going to remain the same. Let us see: date, receiver's address, salutation, body of the letter, and then when it comes to the last closing line, we use, rather than thanking you and all, we use convey my regards, convey my wishes, or best wishes, like that we use in the closing line. And subscription, as I told you, with love, with affection, so like that we use the words, or yours lovingly, yours truly. So such kind of subscriptions are used at the end of the informal letter, and then it is followed by the name of the person who writes the letter. Just have a look at the sample letter of an informal letter. So here you can see the address. Again, we have to leave space of one line, then do it, and yeah, you can see the salutation, then body of the letter, and the last line, closing line, then subscription and name. So this is how the format is this is the format of an informal letter. Let us look at the tips. So while drafting a letter, it is not easy, or it is not a fizzle task. So and we could not write whatever the way according to our whims and fancies. It has to be followed certain methodology. So certain methods has to be incorporated, certain tips has to be followed while drafting the letter, especially when it comes to formal letter. So we have to follow some formalities. Let us see. So first one, when we are drafting a letter, I am specifically concentrating on formal letter, dear students. It should be in the correct format. So I have provided you the correct format in the previous slides. So according to that particular format, you must have to draft the letter. And then very important thing is that you should not elaborate unnecessarily, and you should not use a lot of information, unnecessary information in the letter. So what the way you are conveying information, that should be very precise, very short, and very importantly, it must be to the very point. Coming to the next one, relevance. It must be very relevant to the topic what you are addressing, what you are writing for. So if it is away from the point, then it is going to be irrelevant, and it is not going to yield the expected result of the writer. So moving to the next one, it must be free from any grammatical or spelling mistakes. It is in a formal letter, so we must have to avoid the grammar and spelling mistakes, because if one particular mistake, for example, if you commit any small or a big mistake, it may convey different meaning to the person, because we have seen in the previous slide, in the previous lectures, that how grammar and spellings are very important. So we have to use apt grammar and very proper spellings in our letters. So moving to the next one, polite even when you are complaining. Of course, many letters are going to be in the form of complaining or requesting certain things to be done. So in that particular sense, so when you are conveying, so whether it is a complaint, we should not be harsh in conveying in complaining. So we have to be very polite. And the last one is well presented. So the information, first you think properly what I should convey, how I should convey. If I convey the information in this particular way, so how it is going to get the result, and how the reader is going to understand and respond this particular information. So according to that, we have to present our information on the letter very clearly. So these are all the tips related to drafting a formal letter. Let us recapitulate what we have learned in this particular session. In this particular session, we have learned to recognize a formal and informal letter by knowing the meaning of a formal letter and an informal letter, and the different formats for each of them. And then we have learned to adopt the tips while drafting a format. So while drafting a formal letter, so what are the tips that has to be incorporated? So these are all we have learned in this particular session. And then we have learned the correct format of a formal and an informal letter, which the format of a formal letter and informal letter, as we have known, it is what is called not major differences, very minute differences they have. So at certain point, so we have certain differences in formal letter and informal letter. That's what we have learned in this particular session. Let us look at the MCQs. So I have inserted certain MCQs to test yourself on the understanding of this particular topic. So I have listed out some 10 of them. So on each slide, pause yourself and check and read the question and find out the answers, and put your answers on a sheet of paper. So likewise, yes. So after that, at the end of this particular session, as usual, I have given the answers for that, and you can have a comparison of the answers what you have written and what the right answers provided by the teacher. Now it's time for my acknowledgement. I sincerely acknowledge the very prosperous information provided by YouTube and English Grammar and Composition and TKT course module, Cambridge Press. So I'm extremely happy for their productive information, and I must thank my team for providing me a good inputs to come up very well in this particular session. So I extend my sincere thanks to my team. Thank you so much.